Hello everyone and welcome back to round 3 of our F1 2004 career mode. Yes, we return this weekend here to the Shanghai International Circuit. Of course, back for the Chinese Grand Prix. If you missed out on the video that went live a few days ago from Bahrain, I would highly recommend going back and checking it out. It was quite an interesting one. Well, we bagged a win. Toyota's first win ever inside this series. It now means we're top of the table, just 1 point ahead of Michael Schumacher. Fernando Alonso in P3, just ahead of Ralf Schumacher. Zoltan Baumgartner, Anthony Davidson. BAR, I must admit, they looked very, very quick last weekend. Giancarlo Fisichella, he's still struggling to find his footing in the second car right now, as you can see, all the way down in P10. But this is another big weekend for us. We have got a huge opportunity to try and score some more good points. Obviously, next time out, I believe we're back in Barcelona, aren't we? So both McLaren and Renault are going to be bringing some big upgrades, apparently, to that weekend. McLaren have kind of been tiptoeing at the bottom end of the top 10, but Renault yet to score a point so far this season as well. It seems like most of the battles that were going to be between Ferrari, Williams, and BAR, and, well, we've just got to try and stay consistently in the fight if we possibly can as well. A massive thank you to all of you guys for the continued support on this series. Make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed. If you want early access to all of these videos as well, you can click the join button below. It costs just £1 a month. Like I said, you get early access to all the content on the channel, as well as a few other little bits and pieces. We've had our first few upgrades coming through on the car as well now, which is a really, really good sign. But as always, ignore the vehicle comparison chart because it is not an accurate reading of everything going on inside this game. But without further ado then, let's return here to Sepang. Hopefully another win is on the cards. Well, here we are then, first round with a couple of little upgrades on the car. Let's just see if we're any more competitive then. I'm expecting Shanghai to be quite a tough race for us. If you guys remember the last couple of years, we've had some brilliant battles. Obviously last season right down to the wire against our teammate Michael Schumacher, but ultimately he did still come out on top. Of course, the first half of the lap, I'd expect the car to feel pretty good through. It's going to be the second half of the lap where we potentially struggle a bit more. As always, the AI, just a lack of straight line speed in this car will make our life a little bit awkward. But at the moment, they're not actually doing that well through the first part of the lap. One of the Schumacher boys running away at the front of the order. But again, will BAR be able to spring a surprise? Or could we get our third driver from our third different team lining up on pole position? So far, BAR, Ferrari, and Williams have all shown their own strengths. So just running a little bit wide there as we try and get out of the exit sector 2. Luckily again, this is the early 2000s. Track limits were more of a recommendation than a rule in Formula 1 then. But let's just see if we can keep it tidy. Really got to try and get the car down to the apex on the exit of the snail section so you can carry the speed nice and early on the throttle. Just with the way the traction control works, you don't really want to be kind of getting on and off the throttle inside this car there. 200 miles an hour though, as we plunge on the brakes at the 100-meter board down in towards the hairpin. Obviously so much later on the brakes than in a modern Formula 1 car. But at the moment though, it's going to be one of the Schumachers on pole. I've got no idea which as we go through the final corner. I'm going to assume it's going to be Michael on the pole. We go P8 again. Well, there we are. Michael Schumacher locking out the front row with his brother Ralf there. Fantastic effort by Ferrari today for their first pole position of the season. Anthony Davidson just ahead of Zoltan Baumgartner on row 2, just ahead of both Williams. But again, JPM actually out-qualifying Fernando Alonso. Kimi Räikkönen will line up 7th, just ahead of myself, with DC and Giancarlo rounding out the top 10. So again, does seem to be your big 5 teams. And apart from McLaren and Toyota, every single driver alongside their teammate on the grid, that's either impressive or quite alarming. Either way, we've got to get on with it. It's race time.
It's time to find out which driver is up to the task of claiming the Chinese Grand Prix. We're here in Shanghai. We start a lap here at Shanghai with the long, difficult right-handers of turns 1 and 2, the first of 16 corners that make up this 3.3-mile circuit. The incredibly long back straight provides the best passing opportunity of the lap, with speeds in excess of 200 miles per hour before the braking zone of turn 14. Joining us today to oversee all the thrills and spills, it's Anthony Davidson. And great to see you. How are you feeling about the race today, and how are the circuit conditions from what you've seen?
Well, it's looking a bit cold out there, if I'm honest. These tyres have quite a narrow operating window in terms of the temperatures they need to extract the best grip. So with a cold track surface, it's going to be harder to keep those temperatures up, which will lead to lower grip and maybe more mistakes.
Well, there we are then. Anthony Davidson giving us a good bit of intel as we head into race day Sunday. But it looks like rain is on the horizon towards the end of the afternoon, so that's going to really spice things up around this circuit. If we do get that weather, will we see a switch to intermediates? When will that rain fall throughout this Grand Prix? So there's always the chance for some changeable conditions inside this game. Ready on the grid though, here for the Chinese Grand Prix. The 5 red lights are on, the Schumacher boys are on the front row, and it is the lights out, and away we go there. All Raikkonen doing a very good job. I've done terribly though off the start. It's Fisichella and Coulthard will try and have a look past me into turn 1 there as Coulthard tries to cover me off. But Barrichello was already having a look back down my inside as well there. Luckily, everybody understeering out a little bit as we'll have contact with the second McLaren car. I mean, we were comfortably down the inside. We were wheel to wheel with Kimi, so I'm not sure how he didn't see me. But we will get around the outside on the exit. It's Davidson again. Looks to have had another bad start after the one he had last weekend. They're still the Schumachers up at the front of the order, but this is exactly what we've got to try and do on lap 1, is try and get in the squabble. But what was I meant to do down in towards turn 1 there? Because Barrichello, he was trying to steamroll down my inside. We couldn't back out of it, otherwise Rubens was going to crash into me. But so I had to kind of commit there and hope that Coulthard would give us some room around the outside as well. Either way, DC I'm sure will not be happy with that. As Alonso and Anthony Davidson battling just up in front of me. Of course, the 2 pole sitters prior to this weekend go wheel to wheel, but yeah, Williams and Fernando, they haven't dropped off the pace by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, JPM there's already attacking that second Ferrari car, but definitely don't quite have the dominant pace we saw back at Albert Park then. As are we going to be close enough to Davidson to try and go for a run down the end of the back straight? Surely we're going to have to try and have a look for it. Whoa, Davidson! I mean, what is that? Just moved in the braking zone. I had to blast the throttle. We get a 5-second penalty for a collision with Alonso. I thought we managed to avoid the Spaniard there because I was trying to get out of it. Schumacher will lead at the end of lap 1, but we've had a nightmare start here, and down to P18 we go. Alonso now at the back of the field. That has been chaos early on. Immediately getting a run back around the outside of Mika Salo, but Anthony Davidson just completely moved in the braking zone. Well, let's just go back then, take a look at that incident from Fernando Alonso's POV. I haven't actually watched it yet from the Spaniard's perspective, so we'll get a good idea as to whether this 5-second penalty was justified or not. As you can see, we come flying through. Yeah, I can understand that one. I mean, like I said, we were unlucky in that scenario, but from Alonso's POV, just straight through at ridiculous pace. Like I said, obviously, we were down the inside, and then Davidson... I mean, you cannot move over on someone like that. I tried to do the best I could to avoid Alonso. But I mean, yeah, Davidson, that's a pretty malicious attempt. Obviously, sees us down the inside and just tries to cover me off. Claims 2 free places from it, but I think he should have been getting a penalty in this Grand Prix. Well, I do think a 5-second penalty there was a little bit uncalled for. I wonder if kind of the game's mechanics saw I tried to go full throttle and just immediately assumed I was deliberately trying to crash into Fernando Alonso there, but all I genuinely was trying to do was just finding an opening between the traffic, otherwise I knew we were going to completely collect the Williams anyway. But yeah, trying to carve our way back through some of these back markers then. And we do get a nice little look at, I think that 2004 Minardi was a gorgeous livery on that car as Mark Genet. Yeah, not really a chance to defend from us there as down the inside we'll go. I think today then, immediately, might be a little bit about damage limitation. But again, that rain could really spice things up here as hoping the salvers aren't going to be that good in a straight line, are they? Jarno Trulli, of course, race for Toyota himself, IRL in Formula 1, but hopefully we're about to get a run on him as we make our way down the back straight to the outside of the Sauber car. As you can see, Olivier Panis just up in front. Around the outside, we should be able to go. Hopefully you're going to get the power down off of that final corner there. Yep, there we go. So Schumacher then, obviously second in the World Championship right now. Still yet to win a race this season. Doing pretty well early on at the moment then, as Olivier Panis not getting the run out of the final corner. We should hopefully now have navigated all of the back markers, as long as we keep it clean and tidy down the inside of turn 1. Through we go. Well, next up then, Jenson Button. I tell you what, he and Renault, they have been left scratching their heads early on this year. Just the car, the data has really not correlated, I think, with what they were expecting at the start of this season. I mean, that thing was a missile in a straight line last year. Definitely not the case at the moment, as down the inside we'll go. I mean, we're already almost back into the points. I'd rather make that mistake early on, so at least we can carve our way back through the field when everybody's bunched up still. I'm hoping, although, yeah, we seem to lack a little bit of qualifying pace. Hopefully the race pace of this car, not too bad. I mean, Mark Webber, again, we're down the inside. We've got a lot more grip there. He definitely had time to at least give us some space, but he came off second best, so I'm not going to complain.
Okay, we don't think we're far away from some rain. I'll keep you updated as the conditions change.
There we go then. Mark already, or Jeff even I should say, already predicting some rain on the horizon. So this is going to make strategy really, really interesting in this GP. There was around the outside of the second Renault we will go. As I said, that team, you know, that car was so quick in a straight line last year. But just something is not adding up at the moment down there. We're already closing back in on our teammate Fisichella here. As I'm going to tell the team we want intermediates at the moment. Maybe it's a really dumb call, but obviously if the circuit does stay dry, then we'll change it back. Well, this definitely is the easiest place to overtake on the circuit. Let's not forget, when Shanghai came onto the calendar at the end of 2004, this was the longest straight in Formula 1. It didn't last for very long, and I mean, circuits like Baku now really do put it to shame, but this place really was quite futuristic, very, very temporarily in the sport. Obviously, tracks like Yas Marina coming in not that long after, already, you know, Shanghai. It doesn't feel old, but certainly doesn't feel modern either. I mean, 20 years now this circuit's been around for, but you can see Schumacher there. Ralf Schumacher already into the pit lane then, as Michael has set a new fastest lap of the day. We've actually got very good pace, though, early on here. Our best lap, and included having to try and get around some traffic, so if we got some clear air, I think we could set some really good lap times here. So there is a bit of a gap ahead of Giancarlo Fisichella, but interesting then. Once again, those Ferraris, they fire up the tyres very well, but have to pit a lot earlier than a lot of other drivers. As to the inside of Fizzy, and the AI, like, again, we've got it slowed down on the apex there. That's, you know, I personally think that's a pretty clean and legitimate move. The AI just never give you any space. There we go, Michael Schumacher then as well into the pit lane, so we are now ahead of both Ferraris in this GP. As, I mean, someone seems to have turned the lights out here in Shanghai. It is incredibly dark now above the circuit. Those storm clouds kind of rolling in. Is it smog? Is it cloud seeding? Well, what are the Chinese government doing to try and make this race interesting? Well, there we go, there we go. There's a bit of rain now on the circuit. There we go, the rain has now begun. As immediately these tyres kicking up any spray they can find. So, I mean, that 5-second penalty, we're still going to have to serve that if we decide to make the call over to intermediates. Like we said, we just don't know whether the circuit will get to that stage. That's a really interesting question. Of course, where these are grooved tyres, they should be able to clear up a bit more water than what you normally get in Formula 1. But it is always, every season, it's a bit of a step into the unknown. We go then. Mark's just come over the radio, just telling me that I believe Zob Baumgartner running into some early problems in his BAR car then. So that might allow Coulthard, Raikkonen and I to close back up to him. I believe currently it's Juan Pablo Montoya leading the way ahead of both of those BARs, but we are, I mean, I don't think we're as quick as JPM right now, and I would assume those Ferraris are still looking very racy. The only issue I've got, once again, we have been a little bit too happy on using fuel. We could get a safety car today, though. That would be wonderful. Well, I'm sure Ferrari were hoping this rain was going to be a bit heavier than what we're currently seeing around the circuit. They knew they wouldn't be able to stretch it to the wet period, but haven't really been able to make much progress. And I think we're hoping for a little bit of chaos in this Grand Prix to bring him a bit closer to the fight, but yeah, I could just see there's Baumgartner finally appearing in shot just up the road. Yeah, cool bottom Raikkonen though, they're doing a pretty good job at the moment, as we're just trying to manage our fuel usage a little bit better. Around Shanghai though, luckily, where a lot of the track is kind of mid-low speed, we can save fuel around this venue if we needed to by the end of the afternoon, but yeah, until we kind of really get an eye on what those times are at the front of the order, I've got no idea whether Coulthard, Kimi and I are doing quite well, or if everybody's just handling these conditions quite nicely. As through the final corner, I think Fisichella there, under increasing pressure from Rubens Barrichello. So there we go. We've now got eyes on Michael Schumacher behind then. The gap is just under 11 seconds. How much will Michael be taking out of us? Luckily, we pretty much know that he's going to have to make another stop anyway, even if everybody's able to stay out on the dry tyre. So we've got a bit of time to fall back on against our main title rival. And I guess with Alonso way down the order as well, we might genuinely hang on to the championship lead today. Wait, so Baumgartner, I do feel for him. He's got major engine issues with that car at the moment. Raikkonen and Coulthard queuing up to try and find a way.
2 seconds.
Yeah, Schumacher behind. Oh, he's flying along there as these conditions now starting to get a little bit more questionable at this stage of the GP. Oh, 3 wide just in front of me then as Baumgartner. That's trying to fend from everybody down in towards the hairpin, but Coulthard pulling off the cheeky double overtake there. Raikkonen unable to find a way around the BAR car until he finally gets the power down on the exit. We are now getting squeezed on the outside of him, as through the final corner we will go as well. So Zob Baumgartner losing 3 places in one. But I reckon we're pretty much at the crossover point on these tyres. Really now starting to struggle for grip as the pace is falling apart. I'm really not sure if we want to make the call over to the intermediates or not. We're starting to struggle more and more with the grip, and I'd rather be slightly too early than slightly too late there. There's almost into the back of Kimi Raikkonen down at the end of the back straight. Our top 3 all still opting to stay out there as we've got yellows out. We're going to dive in though. No idea what those yellow flags are for. Oh, you've got to be joking me. I asked Jeff about 3 times on that in-lap about whether the rain was going to arrive. He said, or like whether it was time. He was like, nope, don't worry about it. And then as soon as we dive into the pit lane, now he finally realises that the rain is going to be stopping quite soon. Serving our 5-second penalty though, so that's one less thing to deal with at the end of the afternoon. But yeah, now we've obviously got to wait and see as all. Oh, that's a Mercedes gone. That's a Mercedes. I think that might be Kimi Raikkonen out of the Grand Prix then, as Alonso now moves through as well. I've got no idea whether we're actually on intermediates or not. That's what I've selected from the team. But yeah, retirement then for, like I said, I believe it's Kimi Raikkonen. I mean, these tyres don't feel great early on. Got to try and get some temperature into them. Come on, nice and easy, nice and easy. Get on that throttle. Surely we can be quicker than the cars in front. Oh, I mean, these tyres are just not working for us at the moment. We are in so much trouble as more cars peeling into the pit lane. I mean, look at that though. Timo Glock having a pretty good race of it so far in his Jordan, running up in the final points paying position right now. But yeah, as everybody else then peels into the pit lane, Fisichella, Alonso, Baumgartner, and the Schumacher back in again then. So we've got the jump. Sorry, we're still ahead of Zolt, but we've been jumped by Michael in this GP. That's not ideal for us. But we are back up in P6 then, as I'm genuinely not entirely sure whether I'm on dries or wets at the moment. That is one limitation of this mod. Well, I was trying to figure out what on earth had happened then with the tyres at the moment, and Zolt Baumgartner has snuck by me. But yeah, apparently the team have left us on dries. I've got no idea why they've done that, but we are now losing bags of time around this lap then. So that will explain why we've got no grip against anybody else. I've tried to select the wets. I got no idea if they are actually going to be putting us on a set of the wet compound tyre, because obviously they show up on the HUD as all the same. But I'm going to have to try and dive back into the pit lane then at the end of this lap, because I mean, yeah, we've just got nothing at the moment then against all these other runners. So we had made the right call. We made the right call at the right time there. As gotta be careful that we don't clatter with Rubens Barrichello as we try and peel back in. Whoa! Luckily getting reset there before I damage the wing as well. But yeah, this race then turning into an absolute disaster at the moment. I mean, as you can see, we've got nothing, no grip whatsoever on this set. But please say the team are now putting me on wets. I don't know if there's like a visual difference that we can look for or anything like that. Yes, finally! I've selected exactly the same set of tyres as I did the first time round. But this time round, they finally decided to give me wets and listen to my request there. So Toyota, that's really screwed us over in this race. As we get back out onto the circuit then, luckily now, we have actually got some grip. Oh no! Oh no, this is bad. So there was also another weird thing with this career mode as well, where for whatever reason the dry tyres, they don't wear that much. The wet tyres do. So after one lap then, we've already got 12% wear on the rear tyres. We should be able to stretch them towards the end of the afternoon anyway. So we've got to really hope that this track dries up again. I do not want to have to make a double wet stop in this Grand Prix. With everything else that has gone wrong so far, this was the last thing we needed. I get that maybe Timo Glock and a Jordan car isn't the best kind of barometer for pace at this stage of the day, but we do seem fairly quick still at this stage of the afternoon. Luckily, team believe the rain is meant to stop in about 5 minutes, so we can hopefully afford to just shred through this set of tyres and not have to worry about the life towards the end of the stint. Just trying to get a run then on Timo down. Whoa, again! What's it with the AI trying to move down the inside there? He forces us right up over the inside curbing. And I will return the favour then on the exit of the corner there, banging wheels, as we will try and put the power down through the final turn. So again, giving him a bit of a squeeze over the inside curb, but we do make it around the outside, and we are finally through. Oh, there we go. Finally something happening again in this Grand Prix. Alexander Wirtz into the pit lane then, so we're going to claim another freebie in this GP. So that's really interesting that the AI as well, maybe just the wet tyres just do not last that long inside this game. But at the moment, we're just trying to slowly crawl up to the back of Olivier Panis and Mika Salo, praying that rain ends pretty soon. But yeah, if all the other AI have to pit again, that would bring us back into the fight.
No need to worry about tyre condition for now. Everything's looking good.
I just want to score points by the end of this. That is basically the only goal now. Oh, there we go. There we go. Interesting then. So yeah, the AI now really struggling with their tyres. Olivier Panis into the pit lane as well then. Giancarlo Fisichella, Jarno Trulli. So Sauber actually having a double stack in this Grand Prix. And that means once again then Salo is going to be up in the points in his Jordan. But yeah, now you can see the rain has stopped, so we can't be too far away from a switch back to the dries. Mika Salo could be on for the race of his life, but even better, Marc Genet. I didn't even notice that the Minardi was running in P8. I always look at kind of the pace of those back markers and think, how on earth do they ever score points? But it's races like today, we always get at least one each season. Oh, come on then, let's see if we can get a run back down the inside of Mika Salo. That Jordan might be having a really good race, but has still got no straight line speed relative to ourselves. There was around the outside. We will go. Oh, it's so difficult to try and get the car slowed down into the apexes here. As Genet in, Alonso back in as well. So I think we're going to join them, peeling into the pit lane to move back over to the dry compound tyre there. Almost hit the inside wall with the rear tyre. So have some of those AI made the switch one lap early, or has everybody else there just been struggling a little bit at this stage of the GP? I have got dry selected. I'm hoping the team listen. No, Fisichella back in again then. So disappointment then for our teammate who was just one lap too early. So hopefully this is, going to mean we're going to be up inside that top 10 permanently now. As Genet still running in P8. Paul Stoddart down at Minardi must be so nervous late on. They obviously beat Jordan last year with a slower car. And I mean, these points here could be the difference. Oh, Anthony Davidson into the pit lane as well then. So are we going to get a jump on the BAR, or at least be close enough to chase him towards the end of the afternoon? Definitely has been struggling a little bit. But no, the BAR car there coming out ahead of the Minardi still. 6 laps to go though. We've got plenty of spare fuel to use up. But yeah, it's just so weird, obviously, kind of with the tyres. I understand that obviously once Bridgestone initially is in, and obviously the classic cars on F1 2020 didn't have intermediate tyres. It was just dry or wet. So he's obviously tried to implement it in somewhat into the game. But it can be a little bit confusing, especially for newcomers. Come on then, surely we're going to be able to get a run on Marc Genet as we make our way down the back straight. It's so nice to have so much speed over another car there, but I do feel sorry for the Minardi man because he has driven a fantastic race up to this point there. Salo trying to hang on to that final point, and that could mean Jaguar, I believe, would end up bottom of the championship right now. Maybe Renault, depending on how Kankbat's looking, but come on then, 6 laps to go to the inside of Genet back in towards turn 1. I want to try and get Anthony Davidson by the end of the Grand Prix. As Alonso, I tell you what, for getting wiped out on lap 1, he's had a pretty good recovery drive. Oh no, I've just been told over the radio now, Genet's got issues towards the end of this race, so he's dropping back more rapidly than I would expect from the Minardi. So Jordan now with a huge opportunity late on in the day to maybe get a jump on him. But Barrichello now has just jumped Salo. So Salo now out of the points. As Anthony Davidson, new fastest lap of the day. We won't be a million miles slower. But clearly, yeah, the BAR flying along towards the end of the afternoon. But as we're about to start the last lap then of the Grand Prix, Barrichello now has moved past Mika Salo. I got no idea. Obviously, yeah, Genet just seems to be dropping further and further back. So Paul Stoddart will, I'm sure, have gone from joy watching this Grand Prix to utter misery, as not only is his team not going to score points, but their main championship rival looks like they will by the end of the race. Up at the front, though, I think it's Juan Pablo Montoya that is leading the Grand Prix then, so it looks like we're going to get our third winner from the opening 3 GP, but I honestly don't know for sure who's leading this one. It's been quite difficult to keep up with what's going on up towards the front. I think, honestly, the rain probably masked a lack of pace, honestly, this afternoon. I don't know where Coulthard is or Raikkonen towards the end of the GP, but I think they're just ahead of Alonso. So I think had we nailed the strategy, we could have been a couple of places higher. But ultimately, yeah, we just have not had the pace today. Through the final corner, though, who is it going to be claiming the victory today? Is it Juan Pablo Montoya? I think it is. Yes, it is. JPM in this alternate timeline. I believe that's his first ever victory in Formula 1 there. And like we said, our third winner from the opening 3 Grand Prix of the campaign as well. I think Michael Schumacher has followed him home in P2. But again, we'll have to take a look at the final results when we get to it there. But it's been quite a crazy race here from Shanghai. It does often deliver some good ones inside this modern. Well, I must admit, these older style cars are much more fun to drive around this circuit than the modern machines. Helped, of course, as well by the fact the AI are hilariously OP in a straight line then. Down in towards the final few corners, though, after looking like we were going to be right at the back of the field early on. Happy that we're still able to score some points today. It's been a tough one. I'm going to have to go over and apologise to Fernando as well. But out of the final corner, we started 8th, we finished 8th. Only I could manage that.
Okay, pick up rubber and bring it home.
Here come today's winners. The team at Red Bull have done a phenomenal job recently. It's clear to see that they've put in the work, and they should be proud of the victory they secured here.
Well, there we are then. Juan Pablo Montoya, a dominant drive to the checkered flag there. 13 seconds clear of Michael Schumacher to become our third race winner of the year. Michael beats out Ralph, and I mean, Michael's finished second in every single race so far. A rather impressive feat for him, and surely that first win of the year is not a million miles away. David Coulthard in P4. Like I said, I reckon that's where we could have been by the end of the afternoon. Maybe we could have held up Ralph Schumacher. Maybe a podium was on the cards, but ultimately, Toyota completely screwed us. Zoltan Baumgartner, Alonso Davidson, myself, Rubens Barrichello, and yet Mika Salo able to pick up a point. Heartbreak for Janae, who lost out right towards the end of the afternoon. He did still beat out Fisichella. Button and Panis ended up one lap down, and like we said, it was Kimi Räikkönen alongside Justin Wilson who both failed to see the checkered flag in what ended up being a very, very chaotic GP. Schumacher now, 12 points up at the top of the table. His margin, Ralf Schumacher up into P2, so it goes to show that despite not winning yet, Ferrari consistency is really helping them out. We are now tied with both Williams, just 1 point further back, with Zoltan Baumgartner still ahead of Anthony Davidson. Coulthard now a huge buffer ahead of Räikkönen, with Barrichello inside your top 10. Mark Webber, Giancarlo Fisichella, Mika Salo all with points on the board. Constructors-wise, that is going to mean Ferrari now 14 clear at the top of the table, ahead of Williams. BAR 13 now ahead of ourselves as we continue to build up a little bit of a gap ahead of McLaren. Jaguar just ahead of Jordan. Renault, Sauber and Minardi still yet to score this season. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure to leave a like, get yourself subscribed, and we'll be back very soon when Formula 1 returns ready for the Spanish Grand Prix. Don't forget, some big upgrades coming in for a couple of our teams. Hopefully, we're going to have a couple of upgrades cooking as well.